Hi, this is Eric, our studio manager, and he's going to be explaining the ins and outs of recording in the studio. So can we please start with the different aspects of recording, like composition and framing and colour balance and whatnot? Start with composition.
Composition, picture
Yes.
composition. Basically, you want your picture to look good. You want your what someone sees on the screen has to be attractive, and within that space, the person that you're interviewing has to take up a proportion of that space that looks good. It's all down to your eye, really. There's different shots that you can have. You know, there's extreme close up, there's close up, there's medium close up. So it's up to you as a director, or a filmmaker, to decide the sort of shot you want. You know,
Is composition, can it be likened to the likes of directing?
I would say composition. If you want to learn composition, really go to something like the portrait gallery or a picture gallery and look up, and the same for lighting as well. Go to a painting gallery and look at the paintings and see how the masters lit and painted their portraits, because even though they didn't have lights, they used natural light normally. I mean, back in the Dutch masters didn't have fluorescent lights or whatever. Their paintings the light describes the painting and the highlights on a painting. If you see what they do, you learn such a lot. I learned that from Chris Hughes, who's taught a lot of us here, who's quite a well-known director of photography. He said he learned how to light and he learned composition by looking at pictures in portrait galleries.
Okay. Can we talk about framing?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. We as I just said, you've got different types of framing. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're interviewing an old couple about having tea around their friend's house, you wouldn't use an extreme close-up. You wouldn't do that. But if it's an interview with a politician who's just done something maybe not so good, and you want to you want the viewer to see that this guy's is a bit nervous or whatever, then you might go to a tighter shot. And you quite often in a film you'll see as a drama or as an argument unfolds, they will start off with a wider shot, then they will go to a tighter shot, and then they'll go to a tighter until the argument's getting really sort of extreme. They'll go to very tight shots, and that it's sort of it's a way a use of it's a language in film, really. It's a language to focus people on aspects.
Okay. Colour balance.
Light goes from blue to red. So the sun is blue, is very high temperature, and that's very, very hot. And then as light gets cooler, it goes to red. So ultraviolet to infrared is the extremes. So in an indoor light, a tungsten light bulb, an ordinary tungsten light bulb, is about 3,200 Kelvin. Outdoor light.
Is that in degrees? What is that?
It's Kelvin centigrade, I think. Yeah, it's the same thing, but they always call it centigrade. So, and outside is much hotter, so it could, depending on the time of day. So in the evening, like the sunset, it goes red. The light gets cooler because as the sun's dipping down, so that's why the light changes in the evening. And in broad daylight, 5,600 centigrade would be your colour temperature. But it might be different in a cloudy day. That's why you have generally when you're setting up your camera, you set your camera up. I would have the camera here, you'd be over there with a piece of white paper pointing towards the bit that I'm going to film, and I would then point my camera to the white paper, get a close-up on it, and do an automatic colour balance, and tell the camera, because the camera's going, well, what's white in this light, in this strange light that I'm in at the moment, what is actually white? So you point it at something that's white and say, that's white, hit the button, the camera goes, oh, that's white now, and from that white it knows
It learns.
it knows everything else. Yeah.
Wow. Monitoring levels.
Sound levels, as we just had with the setup here, you set your microphone up at a reasonable distance. You try and get the microphones not too close with these microphones, what's called a hypercardioid shotgun mic, very focused. It's got it will pick up sound from the front of it, but as you go off to one side, the sound will change. So you need to get the mic pointing at the person. That's why you have a boom operator, because a good boom operator will follow the action, pointing the mic all the time at a sort of 18 inches away or so, if he can, because obviously you can't have the mic in shot, so you've got to be. And the level wants to be about. I never go into the red with the meters, but sometimes I go into orange and I don't mind. So you don't want it to. If it goes into red, it's going to clip and it's going to be distorted. It's too much. There's too much level. It will.
Could you break it like that, or is it?
It will just sound. It's once sound goes into distortion, especially digital distortion, it's actually very difficult to fix. Even in post, there are plugins that will fix it. Sort of. It never sounds good. It's always good to get good sound. It's the same with pictures. It's always good to get a good picture. Don't bother trying to fix it later. Spend time getting it right in the first place.
With Final Cut Pro, couldn't you do that? Fix up the sound distortion?
You can't. You can make it a little bit better. You can make it. Quite often we get jobs where it's a corporate job in a big hall, and they just don't listen to the sound and it's distorted away. You can make it more audible, but you can never make it really good. If you were making a film, you'd have to redo the sound. You wouldn't be acceptable in a film.
Lastly, noise.
Because I'm a sound person, I tend to sort of be aware of other sounds, even though so I can hear building work going on coming through that the air vent here. So every so often a man's dropping a metal thing that's going clang, clang. That in this situation, you're interviewing me, then. Yeah. So you're interviewing me. You will hear that noise, but the important thing is my level of my voice is way, way, way above that noise. So when you're recording someone, that's the thing that you're listening for. You're listening there on set. You're inside a tube train, and you're trying to get someone talking inside a tube train, for example. Tube train's really, really noisy environment, or a bus, or a factory, or somewhere that's in a noisy environment. You have to make the judgment,
especially in London.
Yeah, in London, by the traffic or something. You have to think, if I was listening to this away from this space, would I still be able to hear the sound of the person I'm interviewing? Is it intelligible? Can I hear what they're saying? Because it doesn't really matter if there's loads of noise going on, as long as you can hear the person. But you also have to think, especially if it's not just an interview for news or something. If it's something as part of a film, you have to think of continuity. So you can't be having a conversation by the roadside, doing a drama, and then a police car goes past, and you carry on filming. And then, because you're probably going to get my shot first, and then we're going to reverse the thing and get your shot. So on my shot, there's going to be a police car going by, but on your shot, there's no police car going by. So you can't edit that. It's impossible. You have to. That's why it's controlled environment. You want a controlled environment without strange noises coming into it. You have to be, if a helicopter comes past, or you've got to say, no, cut. There's a helicopter or an aeroplane. No, sorry. Because it won't cut later. You can't do a conversation between two people if you're going to film me and then film you. When I'm filming you, there's an aeroplane going over, because when you cut back to me, there's no aeroplane there. And to put it in, you could do it, but it wouldn't work.
Can we have you talking about health and safety as well?
Health and safety, really,